At the family gathering, I discovered my son's artwork ripped into pieces. My brother grinned slyly. It was pitiful, he said. I took my son's hand and left without a sound. 2 months of quiet followed until my mother appeared at my door, eyes swollen with tears. Please, she begged, help with the mortgage before he loses the house. I used to believe my family's chaos was the usual kind. Rowdy holidays, too much wine, arguments that faded by the time dessert was served. But that day at the picnic revealed something darker, something I should have noticed years earlier. It didn't just wake me up, it tore away the veil, stomped it into the ground, and left it behind. It was meant to be a joyful day. The weather was ideal, the food was ready, and my son was thrilled. He'd spent days on a massive drawing, a portrait of our family through his eyes. He'd used nearly every marker in the house, pieced together 3 large sheets of paper, and included everyone, from my parents to the dog we lost when I was young. He even captured the small freckle on my mom's chin and the lopsided way my dad's glasses rested on his nose. I didn't assist him. He didn't want assistance. He just wanted to share it. He admitted he was nervous. I assured him they'd love it. I wish I could go back and tell him to leave it at home. We arrived first, spreading out blankets, unpacking baskets, arranging food, and setting the lemonade to chill under a cloth in the shade. It felt, if not perfect, at least familiar, even comforting. My parents came next, cheerful and joking about being punctual for once. My brother arrived late, eyes shadowed, cigarettes snuffed out just before he hugged our mom. His wife barely smiled, and his kids were already grumbling about boredom. He hardly glanced at me. I greeted him anyway, more out of routine than warmth. He mumbled something that might have been a hello. About 40 minutes after eating, my son proudly unrolled his drawing on the table, presenting it like a treasure, which to him it was. Everyone leaned closer. My dad laughed warmly. My mom's eyes glistened. My brother's wife called it charming. His kids pointed at the part where my son drew them with superhero capes. My brother stood apart, arms folded, observing. When I returned from the car after grabbing another bag of ice, the drawing was gone. My son stood by the table, staring at the grass. I followed his gaze. His artwork was shredded, torn into tiny scraps, discarded near the trash like refuse. It looked like someone had deliberately destroyed it. He didn't cry. He just gazed at it as if it couldn't be real. That's what broke me most. I turned to my brother and I didn't need to ask. He was smirking. I saw it clearly. No one else noticed, just me. It was pathetic anyway, he said, sipping his beer. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. I took my son's hand, walked to the car, and left. My mom called out. My dad asked what was wrong. I didn't turn back or explain. I left the food behind. We just drove away silently without a scene. But everything shifted that day. What no one at the picnic knew, not my parents, not my son, was that for 8 months I'd been quietly paying half my brother's mortgage month after month, like clockwork. I did it because he'd lost his job and claimed he was battling something heavy. Emotional exhaustion, he called it. He was working through it, he said. So I kept his bills paid, ensured his kids had food, and gave his wife some relief. He never thanked me, but I kept helping, believing family meant stepping up even when the other person didn't. After that picnic, though, I was done. I ignored my mother's messages, didn't pick up calls, blocked my brother's number, and stopped sending money. I made a silent choice, no arguments, no confrontations, just quiet. 2 months later, my doorbell rang on a Saturday morning. It was my mother crying. Please, Ellie, she said, help with the mortgage before he loses the house. I didn't let her in. She stood on my porch looking lost, hair unkempt, cardigan misbuttoned, face puffy from hours of tears. My mom always looked polished, even under stress. That day, she didn't. That spoke louder than words. She dove in, mortgage overdue, foreclosure notice posted, bank calling constantly. Mark was spiraling, barely leaving the house, not talking to her or dad. His kids were scared. His wife had taken a job at a local diner, working double shifts, coming home with aching feet and a vacant stare. She whispered that part like it was shameful. Then she asked directly, not gently, "Can you cover the mortgage again?" I didn't pause, no. She blinked just once, then pleaded that I was the only one with a steady income, that I'd helped before, that it was temporary. She kept saying temporary, as if 2 years of me supporting a grown man was a recent blip. She mentioned Mark browsing job listings as if that meant something. When I stayed silent, she tried again. Please, Ellie, think of the kids. I told her the truth. I had thought of the kids. I thought of them when I bought food for their empty fridge, paid to keep their lights on, covered their school fees. I thought of them when my son wore worn-out shoes for an extra month because I was stretched too thin. And Mark thought of no one. She stood there, staring like she didn't know me. Then she turned, walked to her car, and left without another word. I shut the door, and everything hit me. Not sadness, not guilt, not even anger, just calm. Like something that had been shaking for years finally stilled. I didn't reach out after that. Not to her, not to Mark, not to anyone. I got up, made breakfast, went to work, helped my son with schoolwork, slept. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel a knot in my chest waiting for the next emergency call. A week later, my dad texted, "He's selling stuff from the garage." I didn't respond. He texted again, "Chairs, old tools, even that broken lawnmower." That evening, my son asked if Uncle Mark was still upset about the drawing. I said I didn't know. Then he asked why we weren't seeing Grandma and Grandpa. I told him, sometimes adults need distance, too. Another week passed, then another. One night, I got a text from Mark's wife. One sentence. "He went job hunting today, first time in over a year. I don't know what changed, but thank you." I stared at it for a while, considered replying, then locked my phone. Because the truth was, I didn't change him. It was what I stopped doing. After that text, I didn't expect much. Mark had job hunted before, sitting in parking lots, scrolling his phone, returning with excuses. But this felt different, not because he was different, but because I'd made it clear I wasn't his fallback anymore. It had always been like this. As kids, he'd mess up and I'd take the blame. As teens, he'd get in trouble and I'd smooth it over. Our parents never said it, but they expected me to be the steady one, the fixer, the one who could handle the mess and still smile. When he dropped out of college, they grieved. I got a job. When he moved back home at 28, they called it temporary. I took a second shift to help with bills. When he got married, they were relieved. I paid for most of the wedding. But that picnic, that smirk after he destroyed something my son poured his heart into, that was the first time I saw the truth clearly. He didn't just fail. He resented us for not failing, too. I'd thought he was struggling to stay afloat. That day, I realized he was standing in shallow water, pulling others down with him on purpose. A few days after his wife's text, I saw my mom's car outside my office. She was alone, holding a coffee, staring blankly. I walked past without stopping. I wasn't ready. That night, she left a voicemail. Things were shifting, she said. Mark had a part-time job at a warehouse, night shifts, long hours. He hated it but didn't quit. He was moody but wasn't lashing out. His kids noticed. His wife wasn't crying at dinner anymore. Then she said something that lingered. "We were wrong to expect you to carry us all." It was the first time she'd admitted it. I didn't call back. I wasn't punishing her. I was just tired. After that, I started teaching my parents to say no, to let go, to stop enabling him. Not with speeches, but in small moments. When my mom tried to guilt me into visiting, I said, "Not today." When my dad mentioned Mark needing help moving furniture, I said I hoped he sorted it out. I wasn't cruel. I was letting them unlearn their reliance on me. Slowly, they stopped giving me Mark updates. They started talking about themselves, Mom's book club, Dad's fishing trips with a neighbor. They began living beyond Mark's chaos and beyond mine, too. I hadn't realized how much of my life was about cleaning up others' messes until I stopped. Mark was still struggling, but for the first time, he was doing it alone. And somehow, that was the best thing for all of us. I thought the silence would last forever. That Mark would stew in resentment, maybe hate me, and settle into a bitter version of adulthood just to survive. I wasn't waiting for an apology or expecting change. But life doesn't care what you're ready for. It began with a voicemail from an unknown number. I nearly deleted it, thinking it was spam, but I listened. "Hi, this might be odd. I'm Caitlin. I work with your brother. I got your number from his emergency contact file. I just thought you should know something." I paused. She said she wasn't meddling but worked nights with Mark at the warehouse. Said he mentioned me sometimes, not kindly, but with a strange tone, like someone replaying a loss, wondering if they caused it. Then she said something unexpected. "He keeps talking about your son, the picnic, the drawing." She hesitated, then continued. Lately, Mark had been sketching during breaks, on shift schedules, napkins, old reports. Mostly cartoons, but sometimes scenes, people, a dog, a family. One night she asked who they were. He mumbled, what it was supposed to be. That was it. I didn't call her back, but her words stayed with me. A few days later, my mom texted about dinner, just her and Dad. No pressure, no Mark. I almost said no, but agreed. Something in her tone felt different. When I arrived, Mark's car wasn't there. The porch light glowed, and jazz played softly from an old record. Inside, the house felt peaceful, clutter gone, the air smelling of garlic, not overcooked meatloaf. It felt like home again. My dad was in the garage, sanding an old bench he'd built years ago. My mom had candles lit, 3 plates on the table. We didn't discuss anything heavy at first, just my job, her book club, a neighbor's new puppy. After dessert, she fetched a sketchbook from the hall closet and handed it to me without a word. I knew it was Mark's. His style was rough but unmistakable, with purpose. Each page showed care, lines erased and redrawn, details added thoughtfully. I saw places from our past. Our childhood backyard, the treehouse Dad built, our old school. Then I turned a page and froze. It was my son at the picnic table, his original drawing spread out, untouched, a gentle smile on his face, like he didn't know what was coming. The background was faint but familiar, the picnic, the trees, our old checkered blanket. He'd drawn it as it should have been. I didn't speak, just closed the book and handed it back. "I'm not ready to forgive him," I said. "You don't have to," my mom replied. "We just wanted you to see." No hugs, no big moment, but something opened that night, something long sealed. As I left, my dad walked me out. On the porch, he said softly, "You're not responsible for us anymore. We get it now." I nodded, drove home. That night, I opened my laptop and found my son's scanned drawing, saved after the picnic, still in pieces. I'd meant to tape it together someday, but never did. Now I thought about it, not for Mark, not for closure, but because we were all starting to rebuild differently. A month passed without updates, messages, or surprise visits. For the first time in years, my family wasn't circling Mark's chaos. I expected that peace to feel empty. It didn't. It felt like surfacing after holding my breath too long. Then one evening, my dad called, not about Mark, but to ask for help ordering a fishing reel part online. I guided him through it, half expecting a pivot to Mark needs, but it never came. He thanked me and hung up. That was the first sign. The next came at a brunch my mom hosted. My son ran to the kitchen, delighted by pancakes shaped like animals. No Mark, no mention of him, just pancakes, fruit, and talk of fall festivals. I helped Mom with dishes afterward. We didn't discuss the past or forgiveness. She smiled, said she'd started volunteering at the library again, rediscovering herself. Then she said, "You were right to step back." She said it softly, without resentment, like she'd spent nights rethinking things and landed on the same truth I had. Enabling isn't love. It just teaches someone they never have to grow. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. A week later, Mark called. I let it ring when his name appeared. Then he texted one word, coffee. I didn't reply that day or the next. 3 days later, I agreed. We met at a cafe near his warehouse. I arrived early. He was 10 minutes late, which felt fitting. He looked different, not better, just real. No fake smile, no slouched charm, just tired eyes and a notebook. He didn't apologize or make excuses. He said he'd started therapy, was drawing daily, had sold a cartoon commission online, and was considering a night class. Then he pulled a printout from his notebook, a scan of his own family drawing. His kids, his wife, my parents, him, me, my son. No one was perfect. Him with a stained shirt, Mom with her reading glasses, Dad slouching me with tired eyes, my son's drawing intact on the table. He didn't explain it. He didn't need to. We talked briefly, maybe 20 minutes, then he left. I sat there holding the paper, unsure what I felt. Forgiveness wasn't guaranteed or owed. But for the first time, I saw effort. Not for me, not for guilt, but because he realized no one would carry him anymore, and maybe he didn't want them to. After that coffee, we didn't suddenly become close. No daily texts or family dinners. I didn't rush to tell my parents or show my son the drawing. I held on to it just for me. Mark didn't transform overnight, but he didn't vanish either. Weeks later, my mom said he was still working nights, still showing up. He was saving for a new backpack for his oldest because hers was tearing. That detail hit me, not because it was sad, but because Mark was planning, providing. Then one afternoon, my son brought home a flyer for a local art contest. He asked if he could enter, then hesitated, saying he wanted to draw the family again but feared it would be ruined. I told him it was his art, his choice, no matter what anyone did. The next day he started sketching, not our real family, but a version with hints of us. Dad's glasses, Mom's gardening hat, Mark's youngest with her uneven pigtails. It was imaginative, untouchable. I sent Mark a photo of it, no caption. An hour later he replied, "Tell him it's amazing." I didn't pass it on, not until I knew he'd say it to my son himself. A few days later he did. At my parents' for dinner, Mark arrived unexpectedly. No drama, just drinks and a board game for the kids. No one overreacted. When he saw my son's drawing on the fridge, he studied it, then said, "You're really good at this." My son grinned and kept eating. Later in the kitchen, Mark asked how much I'd paid for his mortgage. I didn't want to discuss it, but he insisted. I told him. He nodded like he'd already known, just needed to hear it. Then he said, "I won't pay it back, but I'll earn it." It wasn't a vow, just a path. That night my mom hugged me without mentioning Mark. My dad offered to fix my car's headlight. No one asked me to fix anything. I was just Ellie, daughter, sister, mom, not a safety net. In the weeks after, I saw more change, not just in Mark, but in me. I said no more easily, stopped over-explaining, let my parents set their own boundaries. When Mark slipped up, not in the old ways, I let him handle it. Something new was forming, messier, smaller, real. I wasn't carrying it, I was part of it. 5 months after the picnic, I thought the break was final. It was, but not how I expected. It broke the cycle, the quiet, toxic rhythm where I fixed, they ignored, and Mark fell apart, blaming everyone but himself. That's gone. Mark's still at the warehouse, now managing inventory, showing up, helping new workers. His wife's baking business is growing, orders for birthdays, showers, weddings. She dropped off a sketchpad-shaped cake for my son after his contest, saying he deserved it. Their kids are loud, happy, safe. My parents are lighter. Mom took a trip with friends, dad's building birdhouses. They don't expect me to solve problems anymore. I'm just me. We've had a few family dinners, not forced, just when it feels right. Mark brought a weird, spicy dip once. No one liked it, but no one mocked him. My son drew a comic of us flying through space after Mark's dip exploded in a microwave. It's on my fridge, Mark laughed. At a local art exhibit, my son's drawing hung on the wall. He didn't win, but was proud. Mark showed up, stood quietly at the back, then told my son, "Talent runs in the family." My son grinned all day. After, Mark gave me a small box, a keychain, a silver pencil engraved with unbroken. He said, "You didn't fix me, but you made it impossible for me to keep breaking." It was enough. I keep boundaries, say no when needed, but I'm not afraid it'll destroy us. We're not pretending anymore. We're honest, sitting in discomfort, owning our mistakes, apologizing without theatrics. It's slow, clumsy, real. I'm happy, not perfect, but free from guilt, where family isn't a burden but a place I choose to be. We didn't return to before. We built something better, smaller, stronger, unbroken.